They say every street has its secrets, but mine was cursed. I never truly believed it until that winter night when everything changed. It was cold, unusually silent, and even the sky looked like it was holding its breath. I stood by my window, staring at the house across the street, the old, worn-down place everyone avoided. Its windows were always shut, curtains never moved. No one ever saw anyone going in or out. Still, every evening, a dim light flickered on in the attic, a weak, pale glow, like the house itself was breathing. That night, the light didn't flicker. It burned steady, almost inviting. I should have ignored it, like I always did, but something was different. Maybe it was the way the snow fell heavier that evening, or maybe the loneliness had finally caught up with me. I found myself crossing the street without a coat, crunching through the snow, staring up at that glowing window. My heart pounded as I reached the gate. Rusty, half broken. It creaked louder than it should have in the still night. And then I heard it, a soft humming, a woman's voice coming from inside. I froze. The sound was haunting, familiar. That melody. My mother used to hum it when I was a child, sitting by the window during storms. My throat tightened. How could someone inside that forgotten house know that song? Against every instinct screaming at me to turn back, I stayed. Snowflakes clung to my hair as I reached out and touched the rusted gate. It was freezing cold, biting into my skin. The wind picked up, swirling around me as if warning me, but curiosity had me now. It was too late. I strained my ears. The tune was old, sad, something I hadn't heard since childhood. My breath caught in my throat. "Hello?" I called out, half hoping no one would answer, but the humming stopped. For a second, everything was deathly silent. Then, footsteps, slow, dragging, coming from the back of the house. I wanted to turn back, but something, curiosity or sheer stupidity, made me push the door. It was unlocked. The smell hit me first. Damp wood, mold, something metallic, like old blood. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, the wallpaper peeling like dead skin. I swear I could hear whispers, faint, crawling along the walls. Shadows moved where they shouldn't. The air was thick, heavy, almost choking. I inched forward, every step a scream in my mind. And then, that humming again, closer, right above me. I should have run, but instead I found myself on the staircase, one hand on the rail, shaking. Is someone there?" I croaked. The humming stopped. A female voice replied, soft and distant. "Upstairs." The moment she spoke, the house seemed to shift. I felt the floor beneath me tremble, the air grow colder. My hand gripped the rotting banister so tightly my knuckles turned white. But something pulled me up, like I wasn't in control anymore, as if those words, that voice, had taken hold of me. I climbed, one step at a time, my breath shallow, heart hammering in my chest. Behind me, the door creaked closed on its own, sealing me inside. I don't remember climbing the stairs. One moment I was below, the next, standing in front of the attic door. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob. It was cold, impossibly cold. The door creaked open, revealing the attic bathed in that pale light. There she was, a woman in a white dress, standing by the window, her back to me. long black hair flowing down unnaturally. You live here?" I stuttered. She didn't answer, just kept staring outside. I stepped closer. "Why do you hum that song?" She slowly turned her head, not her body, just the head, unnaturally twisting until her face met mine, her eyes, hollow, dark pits. And then she smiled. "I've been waiting," she whispered. Before I could react, the floor beneath me groaned loudly, and the door slammed shut behind me. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath turned to mist. She stood perfectly still, except for that slow, widening grin. "Why me?" I choked out. "Because you saw me," she answered. "You noticed. No one notices anymore." The window beside her began to rattle, though no wind touched it. A sharp sound, like nails dragging across glass, pierced my ears. Panic gripped me. I yanked at the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Let me out!" I screamed, voice cracking. She was behind me now. I could feel her breath, cold, decaying. "You crossed the street," she whispered, her voice inhumanly low. "Now you stay." I spun around, but there was no one there, only the light, flickering now. Suddenly, the attic changed. The walls rotted before my eyes. Worms writhing through the wood. Pictures appeared. Black and white photographs pinned to the walls. All of them. Me. Different times, different days. Watching me from across the street. "I've always been here," her voice echoed. Watching. The photographs were impossibly detailed. There I was at 10 years old, riding my bike. There again, leaving for work last Tuesday. The angle, always from that window. Rage and fear exploded inside me. "What do you want?" I shouted. The photos caught fire, the flames cold and blue. "Company," she whispered. "I just wanted someone to see me." My legs gave out. I collapsed, staring at my own face in those photos. My heart raced so hard it felt like it might burst. "Why?" I croaked. Her laughter rang out, sharp, mocking. "Because you looked. You were curious. And now, you belong to me." I felt hands, cold, skeletal, grab my shoulders, dragging me back. I screamed, clawed at the floor, but I was pulled into the darkness. I don't remember what happened next. When I woke up, I was back in my house. Or, it looked like my house, but the air felt heavy, wrong. Across the street, the house was gone. Just an empty lot. But every night, every single night, I hear the humming. Right behind me. I tried to tell people, neighbors, friends. They all looked at me like I was crazy. There was never a house there, they said. I showed them the photographs. Blank, empty, no faces, no house, just streets and sky. My screams fall on deaf ears. Every night I wait for sleep, but the humming keeps me awake. Sometimes in the reflection of the window, I see her, smiling. I've stopped leaving the house. What if someone else hears the humming? What if I lead them to her? The thought terrifies me, because I know now, that house, that woman, she isn't done. She's waiting for someone new. And I'll be here, watching, just like she did. They said the house was cursed, but Daniel had never been one to believe such things. After all, he was a man of reason, a 47-year-old history teacher from a quiet suburb. Yet there was something unsettling about that old Victorian manor his wife inherited from her late aunt. The place had stood abandoned on the outskirts of town, draped in ivy and secrets. The day they arrived to inspect it, the air smelled of mold and decay, the wind whispering through broken windows like it carried voices. "This place gives me the creeps," Emily muttered, her voice trembling despite the summer heat. Daniel offered her a thin smile. "It's just a house, Em. We'll clean it up, sell it, and that's that." But his words felt empty even to him. There was a heaviness, as if unseen eyes followed them. The air felt aware. They wandered the halls, the floorboards groaning beneath their feet. Each step seemed to stir the air, the faint smell of something rotten wafting up. A door creaked open at the end of the hallway, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. Emily clutched Daniel's arm. "Let's not," she began, but Daniel was already moving. Something about that room pulled him. Among the rotting furniture and peeling wallpaper, they found the mirror room, an entire wall covered with tarnished antique mirrors. Some were cracked, others fogged with age. Daniel stood before them, his reflection multiplying, twisting into unsettling angles. A sudden cold swept the room, raising goosebumps along his neck. Emily gasped. "Did you see that?" she whispered. Daniel shook his head, but felt it too. Something was off. One reflection in the mirror smiled when Daniel didn't. His throat tightened. "We need to get out of here," Emily stammered. But Daniel, drawn by something he couldn't explain, couldn't move. The reflection whispered words he couldn't hear but felt, deep inside his chest. On the dusty dresser beneath the mirrors, Emily found an old diary, its pages brittle and stained. She opened it, struggling to decipher the faded handwriting. It says, "She lives in the glass. She watches. She waits." Her voice broke. Daniel glanced at her, but his eyes seemed distant, unfocused. "It's just a story," he mumbled, though a part of him knew it wasn't. That night, Daniel stared at himself in the hotel bathroom mirror. His face looked wrong, paler, his eyes sunken. He rubbed his cheeks, blaming it on exhaustion. Emily watched him nervously. "You don't seem like yourself, Dan," he snapped. "I'm fine." The words came out harsher than intended. He grabbed her wrist tightly before realizing it, then let go, horror spreading across his face. "I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me," Emily cried silently, fear growing in her eyes. That night, Daniel dreamed of the mirror, of hands pulling him through glass. The next morning, Daniel seemed distant, his voice lower, his movements slower. He didn't remember grabbing Emily's wrist. He didn't remember raising his voice. But Emily did. She noticed small things. How Daniel no longer flinched at her touch. How he stared too long at reflections. How he muttered to himself when he thought she wasn't listening. Days turned into weeks. Daniel grew quieter, colder. Emily found him in front of their bedroom mirror, whispering to himself. A grotesque smile carved onto his face. "Who are you talking to?" she asked, her voice shaking. "No one," he whispered, but his reflection was still smiling even when his lips weren't. That night, Emily woke to find him standing over her, eyes black as ink. "I'm still here," he hissed, his voice layered with another's, a woman's voice. Emily screamed, but Daniel didn't flinch. He just smiled. She tried to leave, packing a bag with trembling hands, but Daniel appeared at the door. "You can't leave me, Em. We're connected now." His voice was soft but carried a terrifying weight. Emily froze. her eyes darting to the window, calculating her chances. Desperate, Emily called Father Marcus, an old priest known for his unconventional methods. "Your husband is no longer alone in that body," Marcus said grimly. They prepared the house, candles, prayers, holy water. Daniel laughed as they began. "She's part of me now. You can't undo it." The house shook, windows rattling. Daniel's body convulsed, his face morphing into something unrecognizable. Marcus yelled prayers until his voice cracked, but Daniel lunged, snarling. Emily watched in horror as the thing wearing her husband smiled at her one last time. Emily screamed, the sound tearing through the night. The lights exploded, plunging the room into darkness. For a moment, everything was still. Then Daniel spoke again, his voice calm, almost tender. "You invited her in when you read from that book." When it was over, Daniel's body lay cold. Emily sobbed, holding his hand. For a moment, she felt his fingers twitch. "Daniel," she whispered. Slowly his eyes opened, but they weren't his eyes anymore. "I told you," the voice rasped. "I'm never leaving." Emily's scream echoed through the empty house, swallowed by the walls. They say she was never seen again, that the house still waits for visitors. And sometimes, if you dare look into those mirrors, you'll see Daniel, still smiling. Some claim they've heard a woman's voice calling from the glass, promising to show them the truth if they just look a little closer. I still remember that night as vividly as if it happened yesterday. The air was heavy, and the sky carried that strange shade of grey that creeps in before a storm. I was driving back from my brother's house, somewhere along that old country road we grew up fearing as kids. Funny how those childhood fears crawl back into your bones when you're alone, and the road seems longer than it should. I had the window cracked open, hoping the cold wind would keep me awake. I wasn't ready for what the night had planned. Out of nowhere, a figure appeared on the side of the road. A woman, barefoot, pale, staring straight at me. I slammed the brakes so hard I thought the car would flip. She didn't flinch, didn't even blink, just stood there, watching me like she had been waiting. My heart was hammering, hands trembling as I slowly lowered the window. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice shaky. What she said next still haunts me. "He's watching through me." Her eyes, they were empty, hollow, and that was the moment I knew something was terribly wrong. I should have driven away. God, I should have left her there. But something pulled me in. Curiosity, or maybe pity. I unlocked the doors. She got in without a word, her skin cold like ice. The air grew suffocating the moment she settled in the passenger seat. I could smell something faint, metallic, like rust or blood. My throat tightened. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to break the silence. She smiled faintly, but it was the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Home," she whispered. I didn't know where home was, but she pointed ahead, and I just drove. That road seemed endless. I caught her reflection in the rearview mirror and froze. There was someone else's face, just for a second. A man, grinning ear to ear. My blood ran cold. I turned to look at her, but she sat there blank, staring into the night. "Did you see him?" Her voice sliced through the silence. I almost swerved off the road. "Who?" I whispered, barely able to breathe. "Him." She smiled wider this time. "The one who followed you here." My hands were shaking so badly I had to pull over. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Every instinct screamed to run, but my body felt paralyzed. "You're scaring me," I muttered. She leaned in close, her lips inches from my ear. "He needs a body. You were chosen." That's when the air shifted. The night outside grew impossibly dark and the temperature dropped. I could see my own breath in the car. My head started pounding, and a voice, not hers, but deep and guttural, echoed through the car. "Let me in." I bolted out of the car, gasping for air, but the night outside felt heavier, thicker, as if the world itself was watching. I stumbled onto the road, barely seeing past a few feet. The headlights flickered violently. She sat still, staring ahead, lips moving fast as if praying or chanting. "This isn't real," I whispered to myself, but every part of me knew it was. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't carry me far. The ground beneath seemed to pulse, alive. I could hear his voice again, inside my head, gnawing at my sanity. "You can't run, you're already mine." My knees buckled and I collapsed. When I woke, the world was silent. She was standing over me, her face inches from mine. "It's done," she whispered. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My body felt foreign. I was looking at the world, but it wasn't through my eyes anymore. It was like being trapped, screaming inside my own head, unheard. "What did you do?" I wanted to scream, but no sound came. She smiled, and for a moment I saw my own face reflected in her eyes. But it wasn't me anymore. There was someone else inside, something ancient, grinning wildly. "He's home now," she said. The days blurred. Or were they weeks? Time had no meaning. I watched helplessly as he controlled my body, imitating me, fooling everyone around. My family, my friends, they didn't see it. But I saw. From somewhere deep, I watched him touch my mother's face, kiss my wife, laugh with my daughter, all in my body. There were moments, brief, almost imperceptible seconds, where he let me see through my own eyes, just enough to feel the horror, to know what he was doing. It was a game, a cruel, calculated game, and I was the prize he had already won. I kept praying for someone to notice, to see that something was wrong, but no one did. The shell he wore smiled, laughed, even cried. Perfect, too perfect. And when the night fell, he fed, not on flesh, but on souls. I saw him, felt him, draining the life out of them slowly, feeding on their fears, their regrets. One night, in a rare moment of clarity, I saw her again, the woman from the road, standing outside my window, smiling, whispering. "He likes it here," she said, "but soon he'll need more." That's when I understood. I wasn't the end. I was the beginning. The final night came without warning. I woke, or what felt like waking, in darkness. She was there, beside me. "It's time," she whispered. "Time to pass him on." I didn't understand at first, but then it hit me. The ritual wasn't over. It was a cycle, a chain of possession. "Choose," she said, "or he'll choose for you." My mind raced. My family, my friends. Who would I damn to this hell? I couldn't. I wouldn't. But my refusal meant nothing. He laughed. My laugh, echoing in the night. "You don't get to choose." And so, the next face I saw was yours.